allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will call the school board meeting of District 544 to order. And clerk, will you take our roll, please?
Sure. Kirby Anderson?
Yes.
Melanie Cole?
Present.
Missy Hermes? Natalie Knudsen?
Here.
Steve Vigasa?
Here.
Matt Lemke here. We do have a quorum.
Thanks. Can I get a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Our agenda is approved tonight. We have a resolution on acknowledgements. Thank you to West Central Initiative for the grant awarded to the Occupational Therapy Department for sensory materials, and to the Otter PTO for their donations to McKinley and Cleveland Elementary Schools. Could someone offer that resolution and move for its adoption?
I'll offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
And a second, please.
I'll second that.
And clerk, will you take roll?
Sure. Steve Vigasa?
Yes.
Matt Lemke, yes. Melanie Cole?
Yes.
Natalie Knudsen?
Yes.
Kirby Anderson?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our reports tonight, and our first report is from Scott Koldak, our elementary principal out of McKinley and Cleveland. Cleveland report tonight.
Yeah. All right, thank you. You want to take one each? Pass those around. Okay, thank you. All right, good evening. So I'm going to give a report from my two buildings, McKinley and Adams, and then also report a little bit on Cleveland. Mrs. Runner had an appointment here. So really, when I look back over our last month, since I reported last, there wasn't a whole lot of extra things going on besides the normal education of our students every day. I can tell you that last week and the week before, we held a severe weather awareness drill in each of our buildings. We have to do that once a year. I will also tell you that we have a few fire drills left in each building this spring. But when I look at what's ahead of us, the final 23 days of school, there's a lot going on. I'll just run down that really quickly. In the final 23 days of school, beginning tomorrow, Krista from the public library will be visiting all McKinley kindergarten students. The first graders will visit Krista at the public library. Sarah Ronovic will be teaching art lessons to our kindergarten students this week. She has now then taught, after this week, she will have taught 2 art lessons to every second grader, first grader, and kindergartner, and 4th and 3rd grader as well. This week, Rebecca Wynn, she's our special ed teacher at McKinley School, she's going to be holding what are called transition to kindergarten meetings. That's where she meets with the families of preschoolers who have special needs, and we plan for next year. We have a 4th grade orchestra tour coming up. That's where our 4th grade orchestra visits all of the elementary schools in town, McKinley, Adams, Cleveland, and OLB. We also have our annual kindergarten farm day at the fairgrounds. We'll do spring map testing. We map test 3 times a year. Our first graders will visit the Wahpeton Zoo. Our second graders will visit Maplewood State Park, thanks to our parent-teacher organization. Jamie Lill will hold her annual kindergarten field day at McKinley. Our Booster-thon kickoff, which is our big fundraiser for PTO, that kicks off on May 14th with a culminating activity of the fun run on the second to the last day of school, May 22nd. Our kindergarten, first, and second grade students will all be performing spring music programs, so our music teachers are very busy getting ready for that. And then our Rotary Club will be presenting Josh the Otter books to all of our kindergarten students. They do that every day, or every year, I'm sorry. So that's just a lot of things going on here in the next 23 days of school. While I was visiting, some maps were passed around. So I don't know if we want to take a look at Adams School first. Were there any extras, or did I bring just enough for?
I can look at it, Kirby.
Okay, thank you. So if we look at Adams School, you'll see where our 4 third grade classrooms will be located. You have to turn it over because you'll notice that 2 of them will be in the lower level, and then 2 of them In the upper level, closest to the main office, and then as we move our way down the hallway, we have 4 second grade classrooms, and then you will see our 3 first grade classrooms at Adams School. If you count up all of that, that's 11 sections at Adams School. And if we start with first grade, it goes 3, 4, and 4. 3 sections of first grade, 4 of second, and 4 of third. So then, if you look at the McKinley map, we start with third grade again. We have 3 third grade classrooms closest to the main office at McKinley School. If we work our way down the hallway and turn the corner, you'll see the 4 second grade classrooms. And then if you flip the map over, you will see the 4 first grade classrooms in the lower level. So if you were to look at that by first grade going up to third grade, it would be 4 sections of first grade, 4 sections of second grade, and 3 sections of third grade for a total of 11 sections. So between McKinley and Adams, we'll have 22 sections. First grade would have 7, second grade would have 8, third grade would have 7. So the only grade level that gets split evenly would be second grade, 4 and 4. I have a big task ahead of me later this spring, but mostly this summer, and that is to figure out which students attend which schools. I've done that before, every year, for many years, because I've always had to figure that out for our first graders. Over the years, we've had sometimes 6 sections at Adams and 2 at McKinley. Sometimes we've had 6 at Adams and 3 at McKinley. And we always get it figured out, and it always works. This year will be a little bit a larger task. So if you think of the current kindergartners at McKinley right now, 3 out of every 7 of those kindergartners walking the hallways will be attending Adams next year's first graders. The other 4 out of every 7 would remain at McKinley as a first grader. If we look at our first graders going into second grade, we're going to have 4 classrooms or sections at each school. I already have 3 sections of first graders at McKinley. Probably look at keeping most of those kids at McKinley, and then finding some more first graders currently walking the hallways of Adams to come over to McKinley. The trickiest, I think, in my mind, it might be in my opinion, maybe it doesn't play itself out, but we currently have every single second grader in our public school system walking the hallways of Adams School. And so 4 out of every 7 second graders will stay at Adams for their third grade year, but 3 out of every 7 second graders will go back to McKinley. And they might think, well, this is my kindergarten building. I don't want to go back to my kindergarten building. But we have plenty of plans, both inside and outside, to make sure kids don't view that as a kindergarten building. And we'll figure it out. It'll be a lot of work to get from here to there. Those letters, back to school letters, will go out in August, leading up to the week of back to school night or open house. And it's always worked, and it will work. We're changing up the playground at McKinley to make it third grade and second grade friendly, just like Adams is. We're, this is a big one. Sometimes I get a request, I'd like my students to stay at Adams School because they love JAWS so much. JAWS is our recess program. And now I can say, yeah, we're going to have JAWS at McKinley as well. So we've taken that out of the equation. And then if you just look at the facility, McKinley has a much larger gymnasium. McKinley has a much larger music room. So there's all kinds of things about McKinley that I think for those kids that are currently in second grade going back there for their third grade year, I think they're going to enjoy that. And they're going to see some familiar faces. They're going to see 4 second grade teachers that are currently at Adams heading over to McKinley. Those would be, I can name them for you, Pam Sherman, Katie Stortron, and Jenny Matheson and Taylor Leach. So those will be familiar faces. And then here come 3 third grade teachers over to McKinley that are currently teaching at Cleveland. So I think we have a good plan. It's taken a lot of work to get to this point, and we have a lot of work remaining. So it'll be a busy spring. It's been a busy school year getting ready for next year. So that's kind of my report for McKinley and Adams. I'd be ready to move on to Cleveland unless you want to ask any questions about McKinley and Adams.
Just a question on Adams, on the rooms that are designated right now, are they gonna become like special resource rooms, flex spaces,
Oh.
or?
I got great plans for those. It's really easy to expand out. It's really, so, it's harder to come back in. We'll have, I have some good ideas for how those classrooms will be used.
Okay.
It's definitely not wasted space. I'll just give you a couple examples. Our school-based social worker at Adams School, Barb Price, she works out of a little teeny little office. You won't find a smaller office in Fergus Falls. It's in the lower level of Adams School. In the past, when we've had open classrooms at Adams School, and in the past we've had years where we've had 1 or 2 open classrooms at Adams School, we would just slide her upstairs and put her into one of those classrooms. That's what we did with her last year, when we had 13 classrooms being used instead of all 14 like we do this year. So Barb had it great last year. This year she went back down to her little office closet. Another use for one of the classrooms is every other Friday afternoon. I know it's not a lot, but every other Friday afternoon, here comes our talent development teacher, Krista Simongard, and she comes over to Adams to do 3rd grade math enrichment. So we need a space for her. She can go into one of those classrooms. My classroom can be used for other purposes when she's not there. And yet another classroom downstairs, if you look at the lower level of Adams School, the one classroom, so you can see room 126 in the lower level of Adams School. That's a resource room, a special ed resource room, and then there's a 2nd grade classroom right next to it right now, room 122, Taylor Leach. I'm choosing to leave that one, I'm choosing not to have that one be a regular ed classroom so that we can spread out. We think that our students on IEPs who are categorized as emotional behavior disorder are going to have a program for them out of room 126, but expanding into room 122, because those rooms are connected by a door, will be a nice area for some of our day treatment folks from Lakeland Mental Health Center, who are going to be spending a half a day with us down there, helping meet the needs of some of those kids. So I think that makes good sense down there. And when I shared this plan with the Adams staff the other day, one of the special ed teachers came up to me after the meeting and said, "Thank you. That makes total sense, and that'll be great." So always easy to utilize the space in great ways. So thanks for the question, Matt. Any other questions?
So when you're choosing kids to go to either school, I guess you're taking into account like where they live. So you're not driving past McKinley to go to Adams.
A little bit, yes.
A little bit.
I'm definitely gonna send something home in the mail here soon, letting parents give me some feedback, just like we did for all of the kindergartners over the past many years. Give me some feedback so we can find out. You know, sometimes it's, hey, we live just a few blocks from McKinley School. Well, that's an easy decision to keep at McKinley. There's other things too, where our ESL teacher, she has kids to serve next year in grades K through 5. Those kids are going to be spread over 4 buildings, but we don't want her to go to 4 buildings. That's inefficient, so we're going to have her go to 3 buildings. So we're going to take our ESL kids in grades 1, 2, and 3 and assign them to a specific building. And I think those kids are going to probably be at McKinley, and the reason why right now all of our kids in grades K through 2 just happen to be at McKinley. I'm just going to keep them there. It gives us some efficiencies in how we serve kids. And then too, as we serve our population with special needs, we might try to, certain special ed teachers will serve certain types of students, and we can be more efficient in how we serve them and let teachers work with kids where their strength area might be. But yeah, definitely, and you know what's interesting, Steve, is that rarely do you see anybody, students don't walk to school anymore. Just nobody walks to school anymore. But I get it that if you're going to put your kid in a car to drive him to school 3 or 4 blocks, it makes sense that you attend the school that's 3 or 4 blocks from you. Yeah. All right, any other questions about McKinley and Adams? Okay, so I'm gonna, as I start sharing with you some things, I'm gonna pass around a Cleveland map. And as we're passing around the Cleveland map, I'm also going to be passing around a photo. It's the identical photo, so I'll just send one on this side, send one on this side. So from Mrs. Rund at Cleveland, she wanted you to know that MCA testing is underway. Students completed the MCA reading assessment last week, and this week they'll take the MCA math assessment. They conducted the end of the year universal screening last week. In mid-May, they're going to have a data retreat scheduled to review all of the data points and make data-driven decisions when evaluating programming and identifying students who would benefit from intervention services. We do that at McKinley and Adams as well. Last Wednesday, and this is for all of our kids in grades K through 4, our students enjoyed a live theater performance of Charlotte's Web, performed by TheaterWorks USA, and that's thanks to our Outer PTO for funding that opportunity for students to experience live theater. We bussed all of our kids over here. All of our K through 2 kids came over to our auditorium here in the morning, and then all of the Cleveland kids walked over here in the afternoon for a performance. Professional theater, it was well done, it was fantastic. Mrs. Rund wanted you to know that 21 4th grade students participated in the Math Masters competition at Lakes Country Service Co-op this past Friday. The Otters had 4 of the 17 teams that participated, and the teams, these kids named their own teams. The Cleveland kids named their teams the Little Einsteins, Math Machines, the Big Brainers, and Math Monkeys. In the team round, the Math Machines took first place, and the Mathematic Monkeys took second place. The Math Machines, that team consisted of Allie Norris, Cannon Johnson, Truman Steinbrenner, Megan Noland, and Lincoln Strinsky. And the Mathematics Monkeys consisted of Abigail Pekarsky, William Miley, Kellen Kwapinski, Britta Mathieson, and Charlie Kemper. And then the following 4th graders placed in the individual rounds. Henrik Gustafson, 9th place, Timothy Ugerud, 7th place, Liam Jensen, 5th place, Truman Steinbrenner, 4th place, and Kellen Kwapinski, 3rd place. So congratulations to the mathematicians who were motivated by this challenge and positively represented our school district. Mrs. Rund wanted you to know that today is Earth Day, and thanks to a community group that is bringing awareness to how we can protect our Earth, our 4th graders were invited to attend an author visit with Douglas Wood this afternoon at KSS. He left autographed titles with each of the classes to keep in their class. And later this week, on Thursday and Friday, Katrina Case, a contemporary American printer, will be providing wildlife painting lessons with the Prairie Science classes. And she will be providing lessons this Saturday morning, April 27th, community opportunity with Earth Day activities at the PWLC. And then she talked a little bit about the 4th grade orchestra, which I did too. That's going to be on May 2nd. And we always look forward to that for our 4th graders to show all the little kids what they're up to. So that's Mrs. Rund's report. I would probably be hard pressed to answer any questions about her school map. But looks to be that the 4th graders are down in what we would call the newer wing of Cleveland, and the 5th graders up where, I'm guessing the 4th grade teachers are just kind of staying where they're at. And then I'm guessing as the 3rd grade teachers leave Cleveland, and some of them head to McKinley, some head to Adams, that frees up those classrooms, and now here comes 5th grade. You know, speaking of Cleveland, this is just kind of a pipe dream of mine, but I'll say it. If the community, if we're fortunate enough on May 14th that the community affords us a new elementary school for grades 3, 4, and 5, maybe someday I would be a principal at Cleveland for grades 1 and 2, and that'd be really exciting.
That would be exciting.
That'd be really exciting. Yeah. I'd even bike to school, I think.
Let's do it.
So I could do my best to answer any questions from Mrs. Rock.
Any additional questions?
The only question I have just on where the 5th grade is, and it looks by scale, the rooms are fairly similar, just one's in the older section, one's in the newer section. Is that basically I don't know if there's much of a difference. I just know how it was flip-flop before. So
Yeah.
that's my only question about it.
I think Matt, there's very, and if there's a difference in square footage in each of those classrooms, it would be probably insignificant. I mean, it's so small.
Okay. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our next report then, our middle school principal.
Good evening. Grade 4. Okay, MCA testing started, like Mr. Colbeck reported for Ms. Run. We started with reading last week, moved to math for this week, and then we have students in grades 5 and 8 will test science the following week after that. So a huge thank you to Christy Horgan, who keeps track of all the makeups, organizes the rooms with small group testing and individual testing. It's a big job. Many thanks to her for keeping track of all of that. Thankful for her diligence and organization. Similar, Math Masters has participated. Kelly McGovern was our advisor again this year. The fifth graders participated last Thursday, 15 teams of 68 individuals, and they are practicing in fact and individual drills as well as the team competition. In the fact portion, Caden Karst was second place, Oliver Blashill was fourth, Jared Stitch was ninth place. Individual competition was Caden Karst second overall, Tova Ronovic fourth, Sam Harstead eighth, and Landon Morris was ninth. In the fifth grade, there were 15 total teams, and the middle school had the third place and the fourth place team overall. Congratulations to them. The sixth graders competed on March 7th. There were 18 teams and 86 participants. In the fact drill, Olivia Molstry placed 7th and Maren Carlson was 4th, placing in the top 10. In the individual round, Riker Seedorf tied for first place overall. Wow. Olivia Molstry was 3rd, Preston Schesser was 5th, Maren Carlson 6th, Chloe Carlson 8th. And we had one team that placed 3rd out of the 18 teams overall. So just happy that those kids get opportunity to compete in something that they enjoy and are quite talented at. We also had Earth Day. Douglas Wood was here, presented. Doug presented his program revolved around him being a struggling learner because of dyslexia and ADHD. Not super popular to diagnose that back then. And so, he was somewhat pigeonholed into his educational challenges, but overcame that as an adult to write over 40 children's books that printed over 2.5 million copies. So he told that personalized stories to the kids, and I thought that was a pretty big deal because we all have things that we're good at, and we all have the opportunity to persevere through challenges. Doug used the music and the written word to draw students in. He talked about his passion for earth, nature, and the outdoors and how impactful that was in his youth. Doug's presentation was made in collaboration with the Community Earth Day group and coincided with the Otter Tail County poster contest. So it was really nice to have Douglas Wood here today. On Wednesday, April 26th, we will be recognizing our 7th graders in the honor breakfast. Students that have a GPA of 3.5 or greater will be invited. In the 7th grade, we have 91 out of 181. 91 out of 181 students that will be recognized, so just over half. 8th grade will be next Tuesday. The honor breakfast will be next Tuesday for them, and we had 96 out of 208 for them. They will be recognized for their hard work and commitment to excellence in the classroom. Thank you to Glendy Nielsen Funeral Home for their continued support. They sponsor the breakfast. We appreciate that. And then the Student Council sponsors the 8th grade breakfast and program. So that's what I have for my report. You got a little different version because I'm 3D. And maybe Mr. Colbeck, I probably didn't realize he was as well, but we're kind of a 3D school because we're in the tower, 3 levels, and then we're on floor 1 underneath the high school on the northeast corner. So we just made our own map to work through. The process that we used for placement was we used our middle school leadership team. We met, I'm trying to remember if it was 2 or 3 times, but we met and discussed options. Once we had a few options, we brought those back to staff at grade level meetings for some informal feedback. We ended up with 4 different options that we considered through the process. One of the options would be to move 6th grade down to the 1600 hall where they used to be. Another one was to group by subject areas. Another one was minimal move option, least disruption option. What else do I have? So some factors that went into this, the plan that we chose, which happens to be minimal move. We adjusted the bell schedule for 7th and 8th grade. When I arrived here, we were only able to share 7th and 8th grade students, teachers, for 2 of the hours. It made it really challenging to share teachers in the middle school because the bell schedule never lined up. I suspect that's why there was so much sharing with the middle school, is to plug and play and move and try to make things happen there. We've worked over the last couple of years to better be able to share our middle school teachers in the middle school. And to do that, we had to line up bell schedules. Another heavy factor that made this room be like that, or this the plan that we have to be like that, is 6th grade we felt like 6th grade should be near the things that they use the most, such as music, playground, lunchroom, and the gyms. They are closest in their current location to those spaces. And then the last thing that we decided through all of that, which maybe is counterintuitive to the point that I just made, but we felt like movement was helpful. Over the last couple of years, we've our 5th and 6th grade teams, we've had them all on different levels, not all, but a few different ones in different levels. And all those teachers, mostly all, would comment that the movement was helpful. So they're saying that getting those kids blood pumping, moving up and down the stairs, is helpful at the elementary level primarily. So all those things were discussed as part of the teacher room assignments. So you can tell by how I did this was I highlighted the 6th grade portion in pink there. Those are all the 6th grade rooms, all located in the tower. We moved out 5 rooms, I would call from the high school portion, 26, 27, 28, 29 areas. We moved out 5 classrooms, and you can still see we occupy portions of 4 classrooms in that high school area. Are we all on the same page with the lingo here? So we moved 5 out. We still kept 4 areas in that high school space, really on the fringes, right on the first room in the high school, nearest the middle school. Otherwise, this is the minimal move plan. That was the plan that teachers came back with. That was the plan that we discussed. This is the plan that everyone liked. That seemed to have some value as we went through the decision-making process. Over my experience as administrator, making decisions that affect, if we don't like it, we'll change it. And so this plan, if there is any concern about it, only has to be like that for 1 year. And then we'll just change it. Okay, I'm done talking. Any questions?
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question because I have a map. So which rooms are you gonna still occupy over at the high school?
2703. I'm gonna cheat.
Yep.
I should know this. I should have listed this. That's a good idea. We're gonna be in 2703, 2803, 2608, and 2705. That's Miss Appert. 4 rooms. So we're right on the front fringe of the high school.
They're shared staff.
Yeah, those are all shared staff, thanks, Mr.
Yep.
Anderson.
Yep.
The high school has one space that they're gonna use in the middle school, and that is cohorts 20s, 417. We will have, we're still, hey, 5th grade moved out, we still don't have enough room, guys. So we will have some high schoolers that come into the middle schooler, 9th grade
Honors.
and honors.
And then the 1602, which is the art room, I know you're taking 1607, you're taking that and making that a study time area?
Yes,
It's a big study area.
it is, yeah. Study time has been housed this year, due to space constraints, we housed ISS in the same room. I was pretty skeptical, but it's actually worked pretty well. And that has actually been somewhat helpful because then there are always nearly always two adults in the room with those students. Because those schedules are pretty tight. So we have, in that study time room, it should say study time and in-school suspension.
So space-wise, the sinks should be about equivalent and everything else like that, right? Is that, typically that would be correct?
We've retracted from our current footprint.
Okay. That sounds great, wanted to stay in that little
I'm not,
area.
I'm a little surprised.
Okay,
Yeah.
so-
So
It's
the bell
unique.
schedule.
I'll put it that way,
So-
it's unique,
Yeah,
yeah.
so Matt, thank you for saying that. So the bell schedule, if we go to the tower right now and think about, this is a good talking point, and I don't have it on my sheet, so I will add it before I submit it to Mr. Dre. But if we think about all 7th, and they used to do this, I understand that. If we put all 7th and 8th graders in the tower and have them all pass at the same or nearly the same time, I don't know how they did it. So that was a part of our factors to have some 6th grade in there, because then that would free up movement space, because they'll move at different times than the 7th and 8th grade. Having all 7th and 8th grade in the tower would be very tight. That was one of the talking points that we had. Because they're all, when I came, we only had 2 passing times that were the same. And now we have far more. I didn't count them up, I did not bring that schedule. So to have, 4 years ago, they would only all pass at the same time. Not a problem, because they're all passing at slightly different times throughout the day. As we wanted to share staff, then we've had to be on the same schedule as 7th and 8th grade, therefore helping us make this decision.
And then a final question here, real quick.
Mhm.
Sorry guys.
Doing great.
I'm dominating the questions here, but, so what rooms are we, that are gonna be freed up, sort of, or repurposed, I should say, not 0?
I just know the spaces that we have,
Okay.
right? I haven't worked with Mr. Anderson on his spaces up here.
Okay.
I assume he'll probably share that with you right after me, but in the middle school areas, which I'm identifying as the tower, 18 rooms in the tower.
Yep.
18 rooms in the tower, and the 1600 hall, we're full. We've used them all. No one's, very limited traveling. When I say limited, I would say none on this schedule. But that's not totally true, but none.
All right. Any other questions, Mr.
Yeah.
Hurst? Okay,
I'm
thank you.
great, yeah, thank you, appreciate it, thank you for the question.
All right, and our next report is our high school principal, Mark Anderson.
I'll start with just a few things that are going on for us. Big week, Grand March and prom are this Saturday. Just visit with the kids about that. May is Mental Health Month, so our counselors are working with some partners outside in the community to have some things happening, and we have some kids supporting us with that also. We have a big push right now to get to graduation and get all our seniors across that finish line, so they can make it to graduation, both for the ALC and the high school. And one other big thing that's going on, not just here, but also at the elementary for Fayette, is Dan Nynam was here today. He did FACS foods with the Native American students over at the ALC. Then he did some 3 classes with Scott Meldal today at the high school. Tomorrow he does high school, middle school, Fayette, and then he'll travel with Lynn Johnson on Wednesday to do the elementary Fayettes, and they do American Indian activities. So opportunity for Dan to be here for 3 days, and he was gracious enough to add the 3rd day to our time here at Fergus Falls Public Schools. I did color code all the green things there, so I'll go through them. That way, you know where the kids are going. I figured I'd have a little document side by side on the piece. So 2615 currently was middle school reach room. Will become our high school reach room for 5th period. And then Mr. Tilkey's gonna have an odder time next year, and he's gonna have a few kids who need a little extra support that sometimes don't always follow the expectations we have, and build some relationships with kids and have that as an opportunity. And then periods 1, 2, and 3, and period 4, except for first trimester, we would like to use that space with Lakeland mental health providers where they can meet with their people instead of the media center. It's easier access for the students, plus it gives them the opportunity to also do small groups. If they have a number of kids they'll have kids. But if they have a number of kids working on the same areas with anxiety and things like that, or just specific mental health needs, they can have them come at the same time if those kids are interested in that piece. They can also do individual one-on-one things during that opportunity also. In 2703, this is a space that we share with the middle school. It currently is the middle school ISS and study skills. They say, is it study skills?
Study time.
Study time. And it will become the high school, middle school math room, and Dallas McBride will move in there. So that will be the piece that they come to. 2713 was a middle school social studies classroom. Will become a high school health classroom. Currently, Beth is trolls around the high school with her cart for health. She has 5 different classrooms, and that makes it very difficult to have constant things put up in her classroom, so she's excited to have that next year. Currently 2806 was a middle school math, will become a high school work-based learning. Otter time classroom with Eli Hill, that moves him out of this space and frees that up, this up for us to use as a district and for the high school, middle school when we have meetings. We also have the opportunity for 2708 is currently a middle school health room. Will become a high school English room with Josh Scharnberg. He's excited to see a window and be able to look out. 2811 was a high school sped room. It will be becoming a clothing closet. We have a lot of kids working on supporting other students with clothing, opportunity to do some washing of clothes for kids who have that need, and also for some of the supplies that we have in the counseling office that we don't have enough room for, a place where kids can go in and do that. And we also can put a table or 2 in there, because we're in need of a little bit extra space for some SPED testing when they come out of classrooms. We don't always have enough spaces for them to have a quiet space to test, so we can use that as that opportunity also. 2814 was a high school English room, will become the high school student support room, IQ and Otter time space. What this will be is Chris Grabowski will do his Otter time there. The student support will be Amy Toy. We talked with her about using that space. We have a lot of kids in the office right now because we don't have an ISS. We're not going to have ISS. We're going to call it student support. The goal is that we're going to work with her to be trained on some restorative justice, and then work through some of those things with her in there, and then also have the opportunity for IQ kids to be in that space instead of the media center. So that space is opened up for other things like testing that's going on right now and other things. We don't have to kick kids out of there here and there because it's being used for other spaces. It also offers us the opportunity for her to supervise that and have the opportunity to have a space where we can do lunch detentions also without them having to sit in the office. 2816 was a middle school business classroom. It will become the high school classroom for Kim Link for special education. Her room that is now, will move to the clothing closet, is very small, and the students she has need a little bit more space, and have usually is a group of kids that have come out of a level 3-4 program and need an opportunity to stretch out in the classroom versus being cramped in the small space they have right now. 2917 was a high school reach room. Will become a high school safe and calming space. We're working with our counselors to use that space on an hour-to-hour basis, an opportunity for them to be in there to help man it. We're working through that process with them. We'll get into that more here at the end of May. We're also looking at that as an opportunity to do small group work with our counselors in that space, as our kids have requested it through some of our listening sessions we've had with them. We at first wanted to make that a high school staff lounge. Long-term goal would love to have that up in our space where staff can come to their space and talk to their colleagues, but right now, we're gonna move that to a high school calming space with our counselors doing some small group opportunities and individual ones through some of the stuff we've learned from our kids. I highlighted the bottom. I just brought this to Jeff last week. If the space is available over at the rec, the current 935 cooperative sped room we would love to move our CNA program across there. There's 5 offices. We have 5 beds. Right now, kids air knock when they have to practice their practice skills for CNA. The fact that we could put a bed in a room and they actually have to go into a room and go through that process of what it would really be like in their assessment test and when they're off campus at their senior living places. And if the CNA space then is available, the ALC is actually in need of a space. They have 2 teachers sharing a space, and it's an English and a fax teacher, and a lot of fax stuff hangs out during that space, and we'd like to make it a fax room for that teacher as an opportunity, because we have a lot of clothing sewing going on, and a lot of storage that she uses. So the opportunity allows us. We would love to use those 2 spaces for sure next year if that's something we can do. And we're always, like Ivan said, looking at if that needs a change, sitting down at the table and figuring out what that would look like. Questions about the high school space?
I would say, just comment,
Yes.
because I think our high school students have said it for quite some time that I like how we are separating middle school and high school students from each other for the most part.
Yep. And
that
the-
will,
Yep, up by the green pieces where the 2703, when Ivan talked about the classrooms, it's basically straight across would be the only spaces that the 7th and 8th graders would come up into in that space, minus Angie Nord, who has special education, but that's a different conversation.
sure. I know they've been asking for
Yes,
that,
they
so-
have, so they'll be excited.
for that part.
Any other questions? For Mr. Anderson? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll move on to our final report by Superintendent Drake.
Good evening. We're getting down to the final sprint to the finish here. A couple thank yous. I really want to thank my colleagues, our building principals and admin staff for all the work they've done with the relocation plans. There's a lot of moving pieces to that. And not just figuring out people's spaces, but how the programming is all going to work when you add transition time and all those things, adding another service location. Also want to thank Principal Anderson, Amy, and Sarah for their work on the successful Youth Skills Training Grant. So that's going to provide an auto lift for our autos program. It's going to allow some money for transportation to get kids out seeing some different businesses, manufacturing, and buy some additional equipment as well for our CTE programs. So appreciate the extra work that went into that grant. Wednesday, April 24th is Administrative Professionals Day, and we certainly have a great support staff that is first to greet the public, always willing to lend a hand in terms of picking up anything that needs to be done on a moment's notice. So it's a great opportunity for us to show our respect and appreciation for all the wonderful work that they do. This was covered by Principal Kolbeck, but really proud of the Math Masters results. I'm going to hope that maybe was not only great classroom instruction, but also some results of the enrichment activities that's going on in math and the accelerated math program that we started. So really, really proud of our students. Great photos of the kids showing off their plaques and ribbons and medals. And so keep up the great work. Last day for students will be Thursday, May 23rd. That will be a 3-hour early out. I want to make sure to remind the public of that. And then I was out to Lincoln earlier today to give some up-to-date photos on the progress. They are now doing some painting out in the hallways on the exterior. They've also done some on the interior of the classrooms. You're starting to see some tile work going on in the bathrooms now, so those are really starting to pop. And I did find out today, hopefully this doesn't cause too much of a delay, but there was some mix-up with the order, so they ran out of tile this weekend. And so they need another pile or pallet of tile to come, so they were pretty significantly short, but that is underway, and I know that they will make up the time. We are still on target for a July 1st occupancy date. And they've started some exterior work. So on the photo on my right, that is westward facing, and you can see that used to be the loading dock, and that's going to be the exit or entrance into the building, whichever way you're traveling, and that's going to be the access to the playground for the kids. And then you see the same photo, but that's heading west, and then our students will wrap around the east side of that building for our playground facilities, and then also that green space that will be added on there. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Prairie Science class tonight with our bond election coming up on May 14th. Community members make this about various different things. Sometimes bonds are about the school board or the superintendent or about tax increases. This is really just about kids. It's that simple. It's about kids and what they're learning and providing the appropriate spaces for them to learn it in. And a big part of this project is the success and the positive impact that our Prairie Science class has had on our students. And so again, it was recognized last fall by the Minnesota Rural Education Association for innovative programming. And I wanted to dive just a little bit. I'm going to share this information at the last public forum, which is tomorrow night at 6:30 over at Roosevelt. But the background of research, pretty extensive in support of outdoor education. Connecting children with natural spaces has been shown to benefit their physical and mental health. This study, their aim was to undertake a narrative synthesis of international evidence of nature-specific outdoor learning and its benefits for personal and social development, well-being, and academic progress. A systematic review searched publications between 2000 and 2020. 147 original research studies meeting the criteria were identified. And here is the conclusion. Nature-specific outdoor learning has measurable social, emotional, academic, and well-being benefits and should be incorporated into every child's school experience with reference to their local context. This study came from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, Make Outdoor Living or Learning Your Plan A. The pandemic moved classes outdoors, we should keep them there. We know that outdoor learning accelerates learning itself. The research has shown that outdoor learning can have huge benefits on student mental health and academic performance. Students are often calmer and better able to focus when learning in nature, and teachers have reported better behavior and social interactions with fewer disciplinary issues. This was some data, and it goes back pre-COVID, but this came from an analysis that was done with students that had spent 2 years out at the Prairie Science class versus students that had not attended the Prairie Science class. And I'm just going to focus on the white column to the far right, where it says percentage of students at or above meeting the state standards. The rows in orange were those students who were not part of the Prairie Science class. The rows in magenta were those that had. You can see in 2018 in reading, grade 5, There was about a 10% differential in percent meeting the standards. And as long as we're looking at this, I just want to point out the green column right next to it with the percentage difference in those that exceeded the standards. 31% versus 16. If you go down to 2019, you had an 18-point spread between Prairie Science class and non. And again, almost a 20% increase in the students that exceeded the standards who were attending the Prairie Science class. As we look at math MCA scores, again, 2018-2019, grade 5, you see a 15-point percentage increase on meeting the standards for 2018, and almost a 20% increase from the same crew in the following year. And again, in both cases, those percentages of students exceeding were greater with those in the Prairie Science classrooms. And then the last data is from 2018 and 2019 science, grade 5. 91%, almost 92% proficiency with those at the Prairie Science classroom versus a little under 75% those that didn't attend. And again, the following year, 90% science proficiency versus 64.6%. So when you look at the data, the hard data, we're going to come up with some stuff that's a little bit more recent, but just granted that there's some COVID effect in some of that information. The data is very clearly showing the benefits of the Prairie Science experience, and that's what that's why that location was so attractive to us, is the synergy that it can create between a very, very successful program and a much closer location. I wanted to share some anecdotal evidence. So the stuff that I gave you just a minute ago was concrete data, but subjective anecdotal data is also important as well. These were coming from the kids, and I just took, there were more comments, I didn't cherry pick, I just took the first 6 that I ran across, put them up here, and took some snippets out of them. But I loved learning. And I love the fact that they write that they love learning. That's important. Life changer. How often do you hear that? Made an imprint on my life that will never go away. See the world differently. Open my eyes and heart to so much more. A year I will never forget. That stuff is important. That's coming straight from our kids. Then you see from the parents enthusiasm, confidence, more attentive. Love the way my child sees the beauty around him. Pause and reflect. Enjoy creation. Much happier. More well-rounded adult. Wonderful to hear kids talk about the joy of nature. Science makes sense to me at the Prairie. Grown to learn and grown to love nature. More confident. Become more of a leader. And then towards the bottom, has had a tremendous impact on the growth of our daughter, huge asset. This one's a practical issue, the travel impact on instruction. So traveling 30 to 40 minutes a day round trip from Cleveland to Prairie Wetlands. Over the course of a year, that's equivalent to missing 14 to 19 days of time in the classroom. That stuff adds up. Having a location right across from 210 would significantly cut that travel time and lost instruction down. And then this stuff is still kind of floating out there, but I want to reassure the public that both Will Meeks, who's a regional director, Midwest region, and Neil Powers, project leader, have both assured us that an education specialist and the center director position will be fully staffed. Their goal is to have that staffed this fall. And that's not just a one-time piece to get through the next fiscal year. That is an ongoing commitment that those 2 gentlemen have made to the program. One additional piece, a conversation about 2 weeks ago with Will Meeks, indicated a lot of enthusiasm and support for a concept that working with MnDOT would put an underpass beneath 210 to, if the school bond passes, to connect the school site to the Prairie Wetlands Nature Center. Again, special election, May 14th. I'll have my final public forum tomorrow night at 6:30, Community Ed, Roosevelt Education Center. I hope the community does show up because I have a lot of information to share. And with that, I will turn it over to questions.
Any questions for Superintendent Drake?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our general consent items then. We have the minutes from our April 8th, 2024 board meeting, and then our bills report. Turn it over to Kirby.
Yes, Matt and I met with Renee prior to this meeting, and we went through 33 pages of bills. Some of the highlights, we put half down payment on the Lincoln furniture for about $99,000. We did have a number of construction related bills at Lincoln. I think it totaled $1.4 million. Some of the highlights of those would have been just over $500,000 for the roofing project. I'm sorry, Lakes Country Mechanical, $250,000 in roofing. Anywhere from electrical, from Vinco to putting in fire alarm systems and so on. So that was the bulk of our bills this month, or this particular 2-week period. 1.4 million out of the 1.65 million that we have on these 33 pages. Lots of Amazon, lots of supplies and so on. Some of the other highlights of the non-construction things. We did have another $3,000 on commissioning with ATS&R for the chiller system that's right outside this building. We did have some expense on food service of approximately $47,000. $16,000 of that was for some reach-in coolers over at Roosevelt Building. We did we wrote a check for $52,000 to Lakeland Mental Health Center. That's a portion, about 1/6 of what our budget is. Right now, we budget about $310,000 each year for Lakeland Mental Health Services. I think that was about all we had. So again, just offer these bills up for approval, and thanks to Matt for coming in early, and for Renee having everything in order. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Okay, then we're gonna move on to personnel. Elaine.
Good evening, everyone. Everything is right in front of you. I'll just quickly go through them. Certified staff hires. We have 2 long-term substitutes that will sub through the end of the year. Peter Phillips at our ALC, and then Kaylee Graff at Cleveland School. Certified staff hires for next year. McKenna Peterson, special education teacher, and then Ellen Anderson. She'll be a part-time autism consultant. Certified staff resignations. Sophie Steinbrenner and then Emily Hebert, and both of those will be leaving at the end of the school year. Support staff hires: Joshua McMahon, head custodian at Kennedy Secondary School, and Kate Davis, special education paraprofessional at Adams. Support staff resignations: Darren Mucko, custodian here at Kennedy, and Rebecca Lee, a long-term substitute special ed para that we have working currently at Adams. Support staff retirements: Kristen Monshausen, Title I paraprofessional at Adams, and then Mary Drake, HR payroll specialist, and they'll have resolutions under the new business agenda. So I would recommend these for board approval.
Okay. And then we also have the 2023 to 2025 contract between ISD 544 and the Fergus Falls Principals Association, effective July 1st, 2023. And the 2024-2026 contract between ISD 544 and Sue Lewis, Technology Specialist, at a half FTE, effective 7/1/2024. Can I get a motion to approve our general consent items?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on them?
In regard to the principal's contract, can you get a overview of the settlement that was proposed and tentatively accepted? I didn't in your percentage or any significant contract changes or anything?
Yeah, I can pull it up here.
There was no language changes that were meaningful to the contract that would
Okay.
significantly change the contract.
The total package percentage was 9.12, and that included a change in Mr. Steinbrenner's position for next year.
Okay, thank you.
Can I get all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Those general consent items are approved. We don't have any old business, so we'll move on to new business. We have a resolution.
Oh, I stand corrected on that. It was 9.83, sorry, that was with Mr. Steinbrenner's.
Oh,
Yes, sorry.
Okay. We have a resolution non-renewing a tier 1 teacher, and we have 3 teachers tonight. So whereas the teacher's name is a tier 1 teacher in the Independent District 544, be it resolved by the School Board of Independent District 544 that teaching contract of blank, a tier 1 teacher in Independent School District of 544 shall be non-renewed at the end of the 2023-24 school year. And be it further resolved that written notice be sent to said teacher regarding the non-renewal of the teacher's teaching contract. And you can see that note in the board agenda. And those 3 teachers with non-renewing contracts are Bailey McKinney, Heather Pekarsky, and Scott Mildal. Could someone offer that resolution and move for its adoption?
I'll offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
And a second?
I'll second.
And then clerk, will you take roll?
Can we have discussion first?
Sure.
Just want to make a comment on this part of our agenda, because it can seem kind of cold. And as a board member, this is probably, well, this is, in my opinion, the toughest part of our job. And budgets are always ever-changing. One of the things that, for as many years as I've been on the board, that we've talked about is that the legislative body has not finished their work yet. So as a school board, you don't know, you have an idea, but you don't know for sure the revenue you're going to receive, additional revenue you're going to receive as a school district. This is a non-funding year, but there are things going through the legislation, both on the House and the Senate, that will give us a little bit additional, but yet we still need to make the budgetary cuts because this is the time with contracts and stuff that we have to do that. I will just say that I do appreciate administration and the work that they did. I think sometimes we can live in a silo and we don't see what's going on around the state of Minnesota. And just for informational purposes for people, the combined amount from the Twin Cities, Duluth, St. Cloud, Mankato, and Rochester that they're going to cut this year is $317 million from their budgets. Kind of a like size to us as Grand Rapids. We're in the outstate, so what people understand is that we're probably the other 25%, and they're cutting $1.5 million out of their budget this year. And so this is not unique to Fergus Falls. This is happening all over the state of Minnesota. I just appreciate that I think our administration has done a nice job of limiting the amount of cutting that we have to do as a school district. And again, as a parent, what can I do to help? Number one is fill out the compensatory revenue forms of free and reduce. They do matter. They do give additional revenue to schools. This is a constant reminder. What can I do? What's a simple thing I can do? And that's one thing that you can do as a parent. That is something that's simple to do. And again, it's just to, again, I just think, again, it's just as a school board, it's tough to see names to positions, and it's just a tough time, I think, as a school board member to make these cuts. But I do know that it's necessary in our responsibility to do those.
Thank you, Matt. Any other comments? All right, will you take roll, please?
Yes, Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Natalie Knudsen.
Yes.
Steve Vigasa.
Yes.
Matthew Lemke, yes. The resolution passes.
All right, then our next resolution on non-renewing a probationary teacher. Whereas blank teacher is a probationary teacher in Independent School District 544. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent District 544 that pursuant to Minnesota Statute 122A.40 subdivision 5, in the district master agreement, the teaching contract of blank, a probationary teacher in the Independent School District 544 shall be non-renewed at the end of the 2023-24 school year, effective June 30th, 2024. Be it further resolved that written notice be sent to said teacher regarding the non-renewal of the teacher's teaching contract. And again, there's a letter that each of the teachers will be receiving. So in this one, we have Lauren Ackers, Troy Davis, Tricia Hartwell, Jessica Holland, and Kayla Thompson. Could someone offer that resolution and move for its adoption?
So moved.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
Any comments? And we take roll, please.
Yep. Steve Vigasa.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Natalie Knudsen.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Matthew Lemke, yes. Resolution passes.
Thank you. And then we have a resolution proposing placement of a continuing contracted tenured teacher on unrequested leave of absence. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District 544 as follows, that it be proposed that blank, a continuing contracted tenured teacher of said district be placed on unrequested leave of absence without pay or fringe benefits at the end of the 2023-24 school year, effective June 30th, 2023. Said action is taken in accordance with the district master agreement and pursuant to Minnesota Statute 122A.40 subdivision 10 upon the grounds described in said statute and which are specifically financial limitations. Be it further resolved that a notice of proposed placement on unrequested leave together with a copy of this resolution be forwarded to said teacher and that an affidavit of the same be placed in his or her personal file with a copy of the notice and resolution. And it's my understanding these are from IQ,
All of them are from IQ.
and they're all snippet positions and generally get hired back as
Yep, they're considered rollback classes.
rollback.
That when we start, the enrollment is lower, and as we continue to go through, usually third and fourth quarter, they increase, the student population increases, and the students are served by these teachers in a larger capacity.
Okay. So we have Regina Bush, Kaylee Gleedy, Vanessa Jacobson, Lori McNally, Mariah Minkinen, Heather Schreeder, Ann Sko, Jennifer Smith, Deb Suter, and Lisa Thiessen. Could someone offer that resolution and move for its adoption?
I'll offer that resolution, move for its adoption.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Any comments? Will you take roll again, Nat?
Yep. Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Natalie Knudsen.
Yes.
Steve Vigasa.
Yes.
Matt Lemke, yes. Resolution passes.
Thanks. All right, next item is a non-renewal of Title I paraprofessional contracts with Jenny Babbitt and Kaylee Gifternis, effective 2023-24 school year. Could I get a motion
I'll make that motion.
and a second?
A second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. That is approved. Then we have the non-renewal of school, family, and community liaison contract with Brian Warren, effective August 16th, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve that? Non-renewal?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. That one's approved. We have the Child and Adult Care Food Program contract for vended meals and Head Start, effective 10/1/2024 through 9/30/2025. I need a motion to approve that contract.
So moved.
And a second.
Second it.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Contract is approved. Then we have first extension to the food service agreement with US Foods for the 2024-25 school year, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Need a motion to approve that?
I'll make the motion.
And a second.
Second it.
Any discussion on that one?
We're not going out for bids on this, is this our full-on food service contract? We don't need to go out for bids?
Right, the bid clause last year said that we can go out for 2 renewals if it's mutually agreed upon, and last year we received 2 bids, one from US Foods and the other one from Cashwa. US Foods was 6.7% lower than Cashwa, and Lance has been happy with their service and everything else, so we would get to extend it for 1 more year.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. That is approved. Okay, then we have a resolution on the retirement of Kristen Monshaugen. Whereas Kristen Monshaugen began her employment with the Fergus Falls Public Schools in August 2022, and whereas Kristen has been a valued employee with the Fergus Falls Public Schools for the past 2 years, and whereas Kristen has been a dedicated Title I paraprofessional for the district, and now therefore be it resolved by the Fergus Falls School Board to thank Kristen Monshaugen for her 2 years of service to the Fergus Falls Public School. Someone offer that resolution?
I'll offer a resolution for its adoption.
And a second?
I'll second that.
Matt, will you take roll?
Yep. Nellie Knudsen.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Steve Vigasa.
Yes.
Matt Lemke, yes. Resolution passes.
Thanks. Then we have a resolution on retirement of Mary Drake. Whereas Mary Drake began her employment with the Fergus Falls Public Schools in April 2011, and whereas Mary has been a valued employee in the Fergus Falls Public Schools for the past 12.5 years, and whereas Mary has been a dedicated secretary and HR payroll specialist for the district, and now therefore be it resolved by the Fergus Falls School Board to thank Mary Drake for her 12.5 years of service to the Fergus Falls Public Schools. Someone offer that resolution?
I'll offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
And a second?
I'll second.
Matt, will you take roll?
Yep, Steve Vigasa.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Nellie Knudsen.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Matt Lemke, yes. Resolution passes.
Thank you. Our next regular school board meeting is Monday, May 13th at 5:15 here in the Otter Community Room. We have a full work session tonight, starting with public comment with Becca Kruger and Nate Bailey. Information on the Prairie Wetlands, MOU, cell tower, bar, facilities, personnel. Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
And a second.
Second it. Oh, go ahead, Melanie.
I got it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.
So I would.
Adjourned.
No.